5 o'clock.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Sumalata. I'm Assistant Professor and Head Department of Critical Care Medicine, AIMS, Belloor, Karnataka. So it's an honor to introduce the panelist for today, where we'll be discussing on fundamental challenges and problems that is faced by multiple collaborative research problems in India. So I would like to introduce our panelist, Dr. Sumit Ray sir. He is in charge head of Holy Family Hospital. Dr. Natesh Prabhu sir is my teacher and associate professor from St. John's Medical College, Bangalore. My dear colleague, Dr. Swagata Tripathi, head Department of Critical Care Medicine, AIMS, Bhubaneswar, and Dr. Bikram Gupta from IHU, Banaras. Welcome all of you, sir. So we are here today because recent financial year 2021-22 there was ranking that was released. India ranked initially in 2015 89th position globally on research, whereas in 2024 we jumped to 35th rank. It is not a surprise that we moved from 89 to 35. In fact, it's a disappointment because worldwide we are third largest economy. We are 1.3 billion people. But when it comes to research, we are still ranked 35th in the world. So when we looked into the financial year report, it was a high volume driven output of research from India, but high impact translational oriented research, collaborative research was very, very less. So even though there is a transformative shift in the landscape of scientific inquiry in India, compared to the talent pool we have and the actualized capacity we have, we are not reaching at complete capacity, and our industry aligned research is very, very less. So this structural paradox was looked at deeply, and we found out that university industry R&D collaboration and multiple institute collaboration was very, very less, and we are performing very low there, 86th globally. So we have to resolve this friction to move forward as a nation, not just from critical care point of view, as a nation as a whole. And there has to be a deliberate structural and policy decision that has to change in 4 critical layers. First is at individual level and at department resource model level, university governance level, and regulatory industry interface. So let's delve into it deeply. So, Dr. Sumit Ray, today I want to ask you, sir, at the individual researcher level, the core question is this: do our current clinical workload, promotion, authorship criteria is unintentionally discouraging us from engaging in meaningful collaborative research?
Thank you, Dr. Sumalata. And I think important question, and I think the answer to that is the simple answer is yes, it is to a certain extent, because so the incentive for research that we get is for the number of research publications, one, not the quality and the impact of the research publications we have. Second is that the authorship recognized by the NMC is the first 3 authors and the corresponding author. While the structure of particularly multi-center research, multi-center trials has to be that it has to there are multiple systems of scoring the how to score the credit to each of the individual authors, because the roles of different authors is different, including the statisticians, including who has thought about the project, who has written it, who has applied for the grant, who has got the grant. So all these have important value in doing a collaborative multi-center trial. So if we don't give credit, the system does not give credit for these things, it ends up with less incentive to try and go for these trials, which are not easy to do, particularly in the milieu that we have right now. It's improving, but there are structural problems in the milieu that we have.
So we agree that there is definitely a certain obsession about first, second authorship there. And is this obsession discouraging collaboration? Because in collaboration, you need multiple authors to come in and collaborate. So as a cultural society, are we equating position with intellectual worth? So I'm worthless if I'm a fourth or fifth author, and if I'm a first author, I'm really good. Is this the problem there?
So yes, as I said, so identifying only the first three authors as being the important authors and the corresponding author makes it structurally seem that, as you rightly said, that the fourth author onward is useless. But as I said, that every author probably has a role. There is gift authorship in this country, unfortunately, but defining roles clearly. By there are various systems. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a credit system, etc. There are different countries have different systems of giving the authorship credits to the different authors, the different kind of work they do. If that is done, probably there would be much more enthusiasm to do that, to do this kind of research. And also probably there is a hierarchical issue about who gets the first authorship in this country in an institution, right? The tendency is that the in the hierarchy is that the senior most people tend to get the credit, much more credit than the work they do sometimes. So it kind of dissuades or kind of disincentivizes young smart researchers into doing research, because many a times they don't get the kind of credit they should be getting as compared to the seniors they are working with.
Thank you for that answer. So the way forward is going away from the obsession of first few authors to a more equitable system like credit system is what sir suggests. The second most important thing is, why do we not share our ideas with others? Is there a trust deficit? Is there a fear of idea theft within the institutions? And is it stopping us from collaborating with people?
Right. I think to continue with what I said about the hierarchy of our systems, the structural hierarchy, we are unfortunately, with its strengths and its weakness, a very hierarchical society, and that expresses itself in our workplace and also our research culture. So what I said about the hierarchy of who gets more credit within the system, not just authorship but the credit in the system for the authorship, senior stake. So one is that the anxiety among young researchers with good ideas and who are probably better trained than research than the generation like my generation, who kind of self-taught themselves in research, right? So sometimes we have bright young people who are much better trained at research, okay? And as suppose I'm as a older senior person, I give an idea that this is a potential research that we could do, but a younger person who's trained has better ideas of how to implement it. Somewhere there is this insecurity among us, kind of to hand over that to the younger person, researcher, trained researcher, uh, and because of that, this person who is trained in research methodology finds it difficult to take charge and responsibility for the research and take it forward from there. So all these structural issues of our society, of our workplace culture also gets expressed in our research culture.
So to sum it up, it's not just trust deficit alone. We are maybe a little bit insecure, having a little bit insecure leaders can also harm this.
Absolutely.
And way forward is having a mentor-mentee relationship within the individuals of a department. So that is
I
something
would like
that
somebody other people's opinion on this,
what
because
would Dr. Swagata,
yeah,
he's
so those
also
who
a
have done
professor of a Premier Institute. What do you want to say?
No, I believe I've been lucky. So all my whenever I've had a mentor, if I've worked, I've got the credit. So and I make sure I pass it on. And many of us probably do that. Having said that, what Dr. Sumit said, if it happens, yes, it will definitely erode enthusiasm among the younger people to work well. But if you've seen good examples, you will be very motivated to pass it on.
So going forward, having a mentor-mentee relationship helps. What about the promotion criteria, sir? So we have academic appraisals where, you get first, second authorship, you are promoted. So how to generate a system where we want team science to be rewarded? Like you have XYZ multiple collaborative research, projects done. Even if you are 10th author, 11th author, doesn't matter, you are promoted. So what about your thoughts on that?
So I think it's a continuation of what we were discussing, and if you sorry, can you, yeah, so if you see the same, the promotion criteria exactly fits into what we were talking about. If the authorship structure and the credit that is given through whatever system we use, larger system that we can utilize rather than just the simplistic first to third author and then the corresponding author, then there is a structure, there is a point system which is accredited to the different kinds of work that you do in the research, and that is additionally added to your what is it called, the framework of your promotional structure. Then it becomes much more it kinds of incentivizes the researcher to do more research to get more promotion.
So
Yeah,
to
Vikram, I think wants to add something.
Actually, if you see that now the government policy has been changed. So initially, at the time when I promoted from assistant professor to associate professor, at that time the first author and the corresponding authors are eligible for the acceptance of paper which is required during the promotion period. So they should be either the first author or the corresponding author. Now, governments wants to recruit more and more manpower to establish all the medical college because they want to develop a medical college in the every districts. So the promotion criteria is totally changed. They are not focusing on the research part. So now anyone in any number of author, whatever the sequence, they are their paper will be counted. So from the promotion as per the NMC criteria to get the promotion from assistant to associate professor, 2 paper is required, and author sequence, they should be the author of that paper. It is not ki you should be the first author, second or third author or the corresponding author. So even the government do not want to focus on the research part for the promotion, for the promotional schemes, even the associate to the professor part. So I think because of this, there is we are not focusing on the research. Even the younger colleague and residents, they are also not focused on research. They just want to write the any number of paper, and that paper quality is not good. So this is also very important point to address regarding
that's
the
an important lacuna in the system.
Yes, sir.
Moving on, we have certain skill gaps. So is it reluctance to collaborate actually a methodological insecurity? So I don't know how to do. I never did a systematic review meta-analysis. So I am now hesitant to collaborate with someone else to do it. So is that an issue?
So, because it's a very tough question to answer, because as far as my experience concerned, conducting a couple of multi-center trials. So, initial part is as an Indian work culture. If you just generally see, predominantly we are clinicians. Number one. Second, we have interest in research. We do research. Plus, we do admin activity and other activities. So, there is no dedicated time allotted for a research purpose.
So you went to my next point, that is time forward.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
And in that way, people actually, why they don't do research, one is skill, like what I pointed out. But majority of times, we have at least one person who is skilled in the department. It is not the department is not without skills. Usually, department head identify the correct person and tells the skills. So because some people are very good at qualitative research, and if any opportunity comes from outside, like maybe a bigger center, that is actually diverted to a correct person, so they can do it. Only the challenge is if they don't have a time, that is a big problem. Already they are very occupied, and it's very difficult to allot extra time. Then it goes to next person. Next person should be willing to take it up. That's why people grow. So even that first person who has become trained is because of the initial efforts. That is at the department level, they have to promote the culture. And nevertheless, developing skill is not a one-day job. It is probably maybe a lifelong actually journey.
So maybe the solution to time poverty, all of us are in very high clinical load system. You take corporate or you take medical colleges. Critical care is a stressful job and very high clinical load. So to move forward is just use a relay system. Hand over the baton to someone else. Your shift ends. How you hand over the patient? Please hand over research work also to someone. So that way we can maybe collaborate more. That was a very beautiful answer, sir.
Let me just add to that in the sense. So one is the idea that also to build teams for research, that there would be people with different strengths, skills, abilities, who could participate in the same research but have different influences on it, and to be a team player. So somewhere, as I said in the beginning, it's part of our, that we are very much, if you see our healthcare system, not overall the preventive and all, but if you see our universities or medical colleges or our private healthcare systems, we run on a very star based system, a star doctor. So patients visit a star doctor, the star doctors. So I think it reflects in our research also, that the star has to do everything. I mean, it's based on the star. So I think we need to understand that research, particularly, even the best researchers can work only with a good team. Without a good team, so that has to be inculcated, that team building effort, that okay, I don't have this skill, I may learn it down the line, but I have somebody like Dr. Prabhu here who is much smarter than me in this skill in research. So I hand over, as you said, the baton, that okay, this part of it you handle and we'll work together too. So that has to also develop along with the skill. The ability to work as teams is also very, very important.
That's a very well made point to the audience, that ultimately research is a teamwork. Not every research question everyone is qualified to answer. Someone is very good at writing manuscript, forming a research question, maybe very poor in designing or performing a statistical analysis. Someone may be really good at doing a systematic review, meta-analysis, but field work they don't know. So it's always teamwork, just like how we work in ICU. Research is also team. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the wonderful inputs there. Moving on, sir, to Dr. Natesh, sir. So we have formed our all small world, departmental silos, I can say. And there is a resource ownership model here. If somebody grants something to someone and there is an equipment bought, it usually becomes that person's property or that departmental property. Is it preventing collaboration across institution? Like, the problem here is we work in silos to a point that we are not breaking the barriers. We work within ourselves. We are not ready to share. So what are your thoughts on that?
So here actually I just look at in three different aspects. One is maybe at the department level where I'm initiating a study. And because the person who is initiating a study may need a lot of resources, time, manpower, money, etc. And there are departments who will participate in my research as a collaborative research. And the third thing, there is one standalone institute and where they don't have a medical curriculum. It's a completely non-teaching hospitals, but they are happy to participate. Where you may not have an established department like medical college hospitals. So they have a different pattern of working. In that way, the person who initiate research, and usually the person who are slowly gone through the phase where they participated first, they gain some kind of experience and a lot of other training they undergone, and slowly climbing to a position to start a new research. In that way, mostly they would identify their colleagues, maybe within a department or maybe across the department, who have like-minded. But the only problem is if the institute don't have a hierarchical systems. But you know that Indian system has a lot of hierarchy. It is not easy to bypass the hierarchy. Then you have to identify the correct person, you have to go through it. But the person whom you are meeting may be like-minded, having an interest in the same subject. Maybe if you are planning something on ARDS, his interest also is in ARDS, it gels each other. But when you go through hierarchy, identify one more person, the interest is not at all meeting, it becomes very difficult. This is one of the big barriers we should come across. And where there should be a very non-hierarchical system where any researcher can meet with other researchers, gel with them and make their own team, and that each department should support it. And ultimately it becomes an institute responsible to develop a culture within the department. Whenever the participating center, they participate, again same problem. So maybe if the head of the department who was interested to participate, they may be interested to participate, it's okay. But if same culture happens, the next person may not get trained. So in that way, division of resources, maybe one study one person, other study other person. That way the growth is almost diverse to many people. So that becomes more important. Here, rather than working in silos, I can find different silos, different part. At the institute, the same department itself, there are some people within the institute, across institute, and becomes still more tougher in a non-teaching standalone hospitals. They also doing very good research, but they may not have the same manpower, resource, money, etc., compared to the university-based hospital or maybe teaching hospitals. So this is a big barrier, especially for a standalone institutions.
So to sum it up, sir means to say that basically finding like-minded individuals is a way forward to break these silos, and maybe following supporting non-academically oriented institutions who cannot support completely, you will have to take a lead there and follow possibly a hub and spoke model is what sir wanted. You wanted to add, Dr. Swagata?
The thought came to me that those like-minded people again become a silo. Being a silo is not so bad as long as the silo has a good representation of everybody and is getting the job done. In fact, it is that passion of that group of people together which creates the silo, which will also get the work done. The job that we expect as researchers, and we're all intensivists here, would be an enabling environment to allow the silos to form and to be efficient. So I think it's like you say, but let's not make silos the villains. So yeah.
Silos are not villains if there is an enabling environment. So there is a retake to the whole question is reframed now. So let's going on. Sir suggested about hub and spoke imbalance. That was what we have. A lot of premier institutes who are lead collaborators, but smaller centers become sample collectors. So can a structured hub and spoke governance model ensure shared leadership? So how can other institutes in India, apart from AIIMS, PGI, also developed a very good research culture instead of being just sample collectors and collaborating co-Is, which are not generating good quality research. Good quality research is coming only from premier institute. How to make sure that the smaller centers also improve? How to improve this hub and spoke model?
So that's actually, I a little disagree here, because a lot of good quality research comes from almost across all places, but it doesn't come to limelight, because these studies could be very foundational studies and a lot of path-breaking research still could be done. And because many times premium institutes get a lot of grant and a lot of visibilities, and usually they take over. And hub and spokes, there are literally two different meanings. One is always a premium institute become a hub. Second is any institute, they have a good idea and the PA was coming with the concept, design of the study, and get a good grant, they also become a hub. So there are hubs, that is a institute who gets the fund, or maybe the premium institute. How? Only problem is the smaller places, they don't have much facilities and they may not be fully exposed to this kind of a work culture. And that is a starting point for them to participate in small studies, so they can build up their own systems. And hub and spoke should not be a static, it should be dynamic. So because as time goes, the small center become more experienced, and we should give opportunity for them to become a hub. So they have to identify their own small center, and the premium institute should be willing to become a spokes there. So that's a big problem. So once you come to a certain stage, you won't go back. But going back is one of the good quality we should have, and that way it helps the small center to grow. Ultimately, if you have small centers actually coming up big way, automatically your quality improves. So there is no need to do any big brainstorming there. It is indirectly you're cultivating the research culture in a small. Unless otherwise you get a reward and recognize people, it won't motivate them to take the additional responsibility to become a hub. Because becoming a hub is not a very easy job. It's a very intense job with a lot of paperwork, mechanical works, time, money, so many things is involved, including coordination and so many things. So coming to that state, if someone is willing, we should give that opportunity. I feel that that is a little lagging, and maybe the fund allocation, that could be a bias. Because if I want to get a fund, unless otherwise the person who's applying for a fund have a very good CV, he can't get a big grant. That way the small institute never get grant because they are not exposed to it. So that means it's a big problem in a fund allocation also. There should be some kind of a balance between or maybe a ratio to allot a fund to a premium institute or always hub institute to a smaller upcoming institutes where decently they are doing a good research. That's why I feel. So
That
hub
is
and
a
spoke should be a dynamic always.
very fantastic point what sir noticed. The dynamicity is such that we have seen from between a teacher and a student a mentor mentee model. So maybe it's time the hub and spoke model should be replaced by mentor mentee relationship, even at the institute level, where premier institute can mentor smaller institute to become a regional leader in research, and that's the way forward. And also another thing that we can do is, would a stringent co-PI, we always have co-PI models, so we have co-I models. So to make sure that there is a multiple collaborative research with equitable distribution of research funds, having a co-PI mandate stringently in collaborative research, will it improve equity? What are your thoughts on that?
So that is one way of seeing at it, because if we have a study going across 10 centers, so each center, the local center PA is default a co-PA for the bigger study. That way, that is already is existing practice. But whether all 10 centers co-PA have the same weightage in terms of their academic rigor, the conceptualization and design of the study, and equal involvement in writing the manuscript, and maybe division of funds, it's a big question, because each of them cannot be involved in all aspects. Maybe we should have some kind of a thing that is a priori writing the guides and share it before. So these are things we agreed upon, we discussed upon. So people who develop the concept, they design the study, usually they own the research idea. That is accepted everywhere. And people who follow and help may come next in terms of authorship and other things. Similarly, the funding, for example, the amount of patients you recruit from one institute could be higher compared to other institutes, depending upon the institute capacity. So that also is one of the criteria, and people commonly use, I provided many patients, so I need more authorship. But the institute with a very small number of sample could be the person who was designed and involved in the concept. So ultimately, if you just weigh the equations, the person who has the concept design takes a higher priority compared to the person who just provides a number of samples. So that way, it is not quite easy. But the co-PA concept is well existing. It is being there. It is a matter of understanding between them how it is there. And if it is between two institutes, then it's a different ball game. So compared to a big collaborative studies.
So difficult to implement, but maybe if we have prior roles being well defined, it is going to help. So next question is, we have a lack of standardized electronic health records. Is it the real technical barrier here? So because one hospital has a different EHR mandate with completely different set of data being collected, and another hospital has a different EHR, should India mandate a common data dictionary for clinical research? Like sometimes ICMR says that you can use red caps, although it is not compulsory. So if it becomes a mandatory thing, will that improve collaborative? Will that ease at least data collection part? Will that improve collaboration?
So definitely yes. If it is available, very happy to have it. And because many times people who deny collaboration is because of time and the mechanical work they do. It is not because of willingness, and it's not because of anything else. Because many times what I have my personal experience, I've done a collaborative research with many centers. If you approach them and the problem is they are occupied, I cannot do a lot of mechanical work because the paperwork are more and so on. So depending upon how complex the study is. Similarly, I've been participating in many centers, and many times still I go to the bedside, collect data. That is not possible in each and every cases because each study is quite different. In this case, having this EMR is fantastic, but I don't find that it can be completely centralized, and it is very, very difficult. Getting an EMR within a hospital itself a huge investment. But the society like ISCCM and may have some kind of a common platform that can be utilized by all member institutes. That is easily doable because you have one platform and that platform speaks same. It is just a matter of how you feed in the data. The Excel is going to come in almost a similar manner, easy to analyze. Rather than every time you develop a database new and you circulate, that becomes a big problem. That takes time, money, resource, everything. Instead, if a society of our nature is a bigger society, they come up with a common database where every member can access and they can provide that facility, it'll become more easier. And especially to feed in data is a lack of time because of there is no dedicated person is allotted to that. So that is a big thing. So the second hurdle of using this is someone has to enter the data into EMR. It is not that the data is actually captured automatically. We are not gone to in that state. Instead of writing on a paper, you're going to type it. So again, the same person is required, the same time investment is required. Definitely, yes, if you have a common data, fantastic. It will be very, very useful. But it has to account to the amount of money, time the data operator, maybe the CRO is going to spend, and how much money is going to be spent for the CRO also is quite important.
Yes.
So, I mean, my concerns are two for EMR. One is that if you, for a research study, you are using the same platform to put the data on, great. But if you have to have an EMR system for the hospital, which is interlinked, there are two challenges that happen. One is even if you look at developed countries, which are the countries which have cross-country EMRs which work across the platforms which work across? They're all public health systems. When you
So the protectionism by certain institutions about their data, although we are looking at data which is anonymized, then also there is some degree of protectionism coming in. Or maybe ISSM per se, we can be the role models for our society, go ahead and have our own EHR data, somewhere funding we can bring in so that someone enters the data nationwide and build in our own database, and hopefully everyone can use it to do a multi-centric research. That is one thing. You want to add something?
Yeah, if we see after coming this Ayushman Bharat Yojana, so as per the Ayushman Bharat digital mission, sir, we have now a lot of datas, because most of the if you are telling that we have only the public sector data, but in this Ayushman Bharat Yojana, PMJ Yojana, we have both data, public data as well as the private hospital data. So that data in the future, that data can be used, and that is a very good data reserve, and that can be used for the research purpose in futures, because nowadays in the smaller hospital, most of the patients admitted under the Ayushman Bharat Yojana. So
I
that
think
could
government
be
has also started universal ID.
yeah,
So all of this
universal
moving
ID
forward,
and digital
maybe,
mission. So they have
yes.
started the Ayushman Bharat digital mission.
So
then the challenge.
Just a clarify point, because sometimes we call AHR could be little misnomer, because people may take it that it's electronic record from the hospitals where we capture the patient data. But here in terms of research, it's a database where actually we should have some kind of a software to develop a baseline database, have a server availability, and provide this facility to the people who want to do research. So they can develop their own matrix, they can develop their CRF form, and it is stored in the same server. That is more doable, because maintaining server is a huge cost, getting a space also is a huge cost, and developing a CRF with a backend coding also is a just major cost. That's where the half of your cost goes. Then maintenance of data, how long you want to maintain data in the server, 5 years, 10 years, that is the thing is going to add the cost. If that part is handled by a bigger society and given to the spokes, then that is fantastic, and majority of your multi-center trial related problem will solve.
So if
So
we
I can-
handle the
I'll
funding
just-
concern,
Exactly.
yes, definitely.
So I just have we have some international funding for what you're talking about, the registries, and there is an Indian registry of intensive care that I co-lead with my colleague, Dr. Bharat, and he is very correct that it's very it's so much easier to have a module built in to baseline data that is being collected to carry out not only a new observational study or a trial when you have baseline data being collected, but it is very funding, it's very dependent on having funding. So once the international funding runs out, you'll have to see where the funds come in from. And once that thing is set up, that's definitely gives an impetus to research. So having large registries presently is not for acute care or critical care is not a mandate of the government. We have cancer registries, which is run by the NCDIR in Bangalore. And there's the stroke registry that's ongoing. But I suppose we should push for a acute care registry as well, a nationally run acute care registry, which will, and we already have examples of at least 10 to 15 very high impact publications coming from the registry I'm talking about. So if it had happened nationally, that would definitely help research.
So, point well taken.
Yeah,
We
in
have
the yesterday in the presidential dinner, our president already spoke that we have started the AKI registry and the acute care registry. They will start soon. So definitely, ICCM seeing that those things, and we have the data, and then we can plan on that.
great plans are in pipeline, but thanks for pointing out that funding is a major concern. So moving on, we have equipment that becomes departmental property once research is funded. Why does this culture persist? Because once it becomes a departmental property, you tend to be overprotective about it, that equipment should not get harmed. But these are very high-end equipment, like HPLC equipment or a molecular biology equipment where you're doing genomics, proteomics and all, and you're so protective about it that you're not sharing. Is that resource hoarding a major problem here? And would a centralized institutional equipment booking solve this? Like ICMR has so much of funding given to governmental institute for top-end machines. So how can we share this equipment, and what does it mean for tier 2 medical colleges? Can we just have machine being placed in one center and all of us share it?
I think it's all depends upon the machine is